I found out I was under investigation at 10:47 on a Monday morning. Not because HR called me, not because my manager gave me any warning, but because a coworker, one I considered a friend, pulled me aside in the hallway and whispered, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but there's an investigation about you. Someone filed a complaint last week." I stood there in the hallway in front of the water cooler with no idea what I'd supposedly done. I would spend the next 3 days in one of the most surreal experiences of my professional life. And then I would learn about the security footage. And everything, absolutely everything, changed. New here? You're in the right place. I tell stories like this every week. Hit subscribe, stick around. My name is James. I've worked in logistics operations for about 12 years. 3 years ago, I was a shift supervisor at a distribution facility. 140 employees across 3 shifts. High-pressure work, fast-moving environment. I was good at my job. I was fair, I thought. I worked hard to build a team that trusted each other. There was one person on my shift who I'd had friction with. Her name was Sandra. She was competent, but she had a habit of bending rules in small ways, extended breaks, fudging her time logs by a few minutes, occasionally delegating tasks she was supposed to do herself. I'd addressed it with her twice, formally, with documentation. She'd smiled both times and said she understood. I thought we'd moved past it. We had not. The complaint Sandra filed alleged that I had made a threatening comment to her in the break room the previous Wednesday. Specifically, she claimed I had told her that if she kept making trouble, I would make sure she regretted it. She said this had happened at approximately 2:15 p.m. when the break room was empty. She described it in detail. The tone of my voice, where I was standing, what I was wearing. It was completely fabricated, every word of it. I had not been in the break room at 2:15 p.m. that Wednesday. I had been in a manager's meeting from 1 to 3:30, a meeting with 8 other people and a printed agenda with my name on the attendance sheet. But HR didn't know that yet. HR had received a formal written complaint with specific details, and they were obligated to investigate. So for 3 days, I was essentially in limbo. No official suspension, but I was quietly told to work independently while the investigation was active. My badge was flagged. My shift supervision duties were temporarily redistributed. The implication was clear. Until this was resolved, I was the problem. Those 3 days are something I wouldn't wish on anyone. I knew I hadn't done it, but knowing you're innocent and being able to prove it are 2 very different things. The complaint was specific and credible seeming. Sandra had a history of positive performance reviews. I was the supervisor who had formally disciplined her twice. In the absence of other information, who looks more credible? I called a lawyer friend who walked me through my options. His first question, any witnesses? Any cameras? I told him about the manager's meeting. That was my alibi for 2:15 p.m. But I didn't initially think about the cameras. Then one night during those 3 days, I was reviewing my schedule trying to reconstruct that Wednesday in as much detail as possible, and it occurred to me. Our facility had a comprehensive security camera network. The break room had cameras. The hallways had cameras. We'd installed them 2 years ago as part of an insurance upgrade. I called HR the next morning and asked, very calmly, whether they had reviewed the security footage from the break room at 2:15 p.m. on Wednesday. There was a pause. They had not thought to check. The footage review happened that afternoon. HR, the facility manager, and the head of security reviewed it together. The break room camera showed the break room at 2:15 p.m. on that Wednesday. I was not in it. Not at 2:14, not at 2:15, not at 2:16. The camera had a full, unobstructed view of the only entrance. No one matching my description entered or exited in the relevant window. The hallway camera outside my conference room confirmed what the attendance sheet showed. I walked into that meeting room at 12:58 p.m. and did not emerge until 3:34 p.m. Sandra's account of events was not just inaccurate. It was demonstrably, conclusively, irrefutably false. The fabrication wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a case of someone misinterpreting a comment or misremembering a tense moment. She had constructed a detailed, specific, false narrative designed to get me disciplined or fired. And she had filed it formally, under her name, in writing, with the company. I was called into HR the next morning. My manager and the facility director were both present. They showed me the footage. They showed me the attendance sheet. They said that based on the evidence, the complaint had been determined to be without factual basis. I asked what that meant for the person who had filed it. There was a pause. The HR director said, "Filing a false formal complaint is a serious policy violation. We take it very seriously." I said, "I understand. I want to make sure we're aligned on the fact that this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a specific, detailed, written account of an event that the camera footage proves did not happen." Another pause. "Yes," she said, "that is correct. Then I'd like to formally request that the same level of rigor that was applied to the investigation of me be applied to the investigation of the false complaint." They looked at each other. And then the facility director said, "That's reasonable." The fallout. Sandra was placed on administrative leave while the false complaint was investigated. That investigation took about 3 weeks. The conclusion? She had deliberately fabricated the complaint. The company's policy on false complaints was unambiguous. Intentional falsification of a formal HR complaint was gross misconduct, an immediately terminable offense. She was let go. I was reinstated fully. The investigation was expunged from my file. My manager apologized personally, which I appreciated, though it didn't fully erase those 3 days. Sandra apparently tried to file for unemployment on the basis of wrongful termination. I don't know if she succeeded. I don't particularly care. What I do care about is this. She had spent months quietly resenting my discipline of her rule-bending. She had calculated that a detailed false accusation was her best move to neutralize me. She forgot about the cameras. She forgot that meticulous records existed. She forgot that in a facility like ours, almost nothing happens without documentation. In trying to destroy my record, she created a perfect paper trail of her own. I think about this case whenever someone asks me whether it's worth documenting things carefully. Attendance sheets, meeting records, camera footage, timesheets. None of those things were created to protect me specifically. They were just the standard infrastructure of a well-run operation. But when someone tried to put a fabricated story on top of reality, reality pushed back. Because reality was documented. The most effective defense against a lie is a meticulous record of the truth. And the most effective revenge against someone who tried to destroy you with a fabrication? Letting the facts do the talking. Sandra didn't lose her job because I wanted revenge. She lost it because she lied in writing, and the cameras remembered the truth. I want to hear your take. Was the outcome fair? Or was there something else that should have happened? Drop it in the comments. I answer almost everything. And subscribe. I'm here every week with a story that'll hit you right in the gut. See you next time.